Welcome to a new Team CGC 9.8 video. Today I want to do a 9.8 market update video. I got a full list of some completed sales in a CGC 9.8, and all the prices we'll talk about are in US dollars as well. So first one up, I saw Star Wars #1 in a 9.8 white pages sell on eBay just in the last few days here in an auction for $5,499. So we recently documented one about 2 weeks ago that went for $4,700. That one was on Comic Link. This one I would say was a little bit better centered. It had a really good centering on it where a lot of times you see kind of that white strip from the back cover along the front cover. This one was basically perfectly centered along the spine. So, you can kind of understand the $5,499 price. If you're really serious about investing in 9.8s, I love Star Wars #1. That last video where the $4,700 one sold, I said, hey, you could do a lot worse, I think, on a Star Wars #1. Certainly better time to buy now than like about a year and a half ago. The Mandalorian hype was really at its peak, and a few of these had went for kind of $8,000. Like some of the prices were pretty ridiculous at that time. So I mentioned under $5,000 for a good looking 9.8, I think is a pretty great one. This one looking really good for $5,499, a Star Wars one in a 9.8 white page is going for. So I saw a few Amazing Spider-Man 361s sell. So in a direct edition, in an old case, saw one go for $551 in an auction. Old case though, but this one was looking really nicely centered. A lot of times the back cover kind of curls toward the front, and it's like a yellow brownish back cover, so you kind of notice it. This one had a really nice kind of centering right down the spine. $551 in an old case though, I think that's a fantastic price given it was a great centered one. In a new case, in an auction, saw one sell for $530. So this is kind of some of the area of the prices I mentioned on, it was like my top picks for 2022. I think, Amazing Spider-Man 361, it was so hot last year, Let There Be Carnage show. This book was way more expensive. I, recommended to be patient at that time. You don't kind of want to get in there when, a book's really hot because of a movie. It's absolutely cooled down this year. That video I kind of mentioned like around $550, maybe even a little bit less. I think you probably want to get in there on a direct edition Amazing Spider-Man 361. I think it's a really good value at that point. Let There Be Carnage, when the trailer dropped, these were about $1,000. Like they were kind of flirting with that $1,000 level in the direct edition. So one selling for $530 in an auction, I think that's a price target to aim for a direct edition. A newsstand sold for $810. So the last market video we did, one sold on Comic Link in a newsstand for $750, and I actually thought like that's pretty solid, given where that book has come as well. That one was way up there as well during the Let There Be Carnage trailer. One selling for $810 on eBay. Yeah, I think in the newsstand that $750 is a great price target to aim for, and then in the direct $530 one went for. I think $500 to $550 is the price to go for on an Amazing Spider-Man 361. Next one's an interesting one, Green Lantern #25 from 2008. It's a first appearance of, Larfleeze, who is a supervillain apparently. I sort of Googled him, and he kind of looks like a fiery supervillain, but I'm a pretty big Green Lantern fan, and I didn't really know this one, so it kind of surprised me that it went for a pretty stiff price in an auction as well, selling for $275 this one. So a pretty big villain first appearance if you're a Green Lantern fan. My feeling, even if this one is really limited, $275 seems like a little bit too much for like a villain that almost nobody knows about. So I'd probably aim kind of in the $225 or to $200 area if you're in the market for a Green Lantern 25 in a 9.8. Next one's a cool one, all new Wolverine #1, the J. Scott Campbell edition though. I mentioned on that one video I picked up an all new Wolverine #1, the Marquez variant. This J. Scott Campbell edition is pretty cool as well. It's called something different on the census, but it's, the J. Scott Campbell cover. There's the normal colored cover, and then there's a sketch version of this one as well. But this sort of normal version of All New Wolverine #1, the J. Scott Campbell cover, sold for $202.50 in an auction. So I know I paid $187.50 for my 1 for $10 variant of All New Wolverine 1. So yeah, one going for $202.50 in the J. Scott Campbell variant. I feel really good actually about my $187.50 based on that. I feel like it's a better book than the J. Scott Campbell one in my opinion. So $202.50 though for the J. Scott Campbell, the colored one on that one in a 9.8. Next one, Captain America 25 in an auction selling for $255. So he documented one where I saw it was in Canada, a bit of a stealthy auction, but it sold for $150 US dollars. A week or two later, one selling in this auction for $255. I'd say that's the range on this book now. This is a book that's kind of cooling down, like certainly Falcon and the Winter Soldier, a year ago. This book was a lot hotter. 255 though seems a little bit steep. Yeah, I think 150 to 250 is kind of the range of price on this one. Anywhere under 200, I think, is a pretty decent deal right now for Captain America 25 when Sam Wilson becomes Captain America in a 9.8. Next one, I do have Immortal Hulk #1 in a 9.8. Yeah, this I've kind of mentioned, just a modern classic Alex Ross cover in the making. I think this one, I think will be collected over time for sure. Just a great eye-appealing cover. Sold in an auction, $152.39. Yeah, I mentioned this one kind of goes from $150 to $175 on a recent video. $152.39 in an auction, I think, is a really great price to aim for if you're liking this one, Immortal Hulk #1. I also saw a Transformers #1 in a first print sell, 9.8 white pages, in an old case though, but still getting a good buck, $2,350. So I had saw a Transformers #1 first print 9.8. We documented it. It went for $1,750 or something like that. And I mentioned like that just feels like a screaming deal. Like this one sailed over 2,000 during the whole hot coronavirus comic book market. And to see that one that had went for 1,700, I thought that was a great deal. This one going for 2,350 in a new case. I think that's more of like a fair value right now. I wouldn't say it's like a great deal. But I think if you got a long-term time horizon on a Transformers #1, even at 2,350 in that first print 9.8, I think you're going to do great over time with a long-term time horizon on that one. But maybe you can aim a little lower or a little under 2,000, hopefully, on that one. Next one, A Star Wars Legacy #1 in a 9.8. In the first print for this one, this is first Cade Skywalker and Darth Kryat, I think, is the other kind of big first appearance out of this one. Saw in an auction sell for $406. That's a pretty decent price, I think. I think that's probably near the lower end of the price range for this one. This one has heated up off and on. Star Wars fans out there kind of speculating on this one off and on. I definitely saw a few 9.8s in this one go over 500 before. So I think, yeah, right around 400 if you're in the market for a Star Wars Legacy #1. 9.8 is a pretty decent price. Yeah, a fair price on that one, I think. Okay, next one's a pretty cool one. I was kind of watching this one and thinking of throwing in a bid, but the shipping was pretty expensive coming from United States. Uncanny XMen 126 in a direct edition. I got like a t-shirt of this one. I really like this cover. And it's kind of one I've said like, hey, if I see an auction kind of pop up, opportunistic, maybe I can get it for a really good price. I think this is a really good price. It went for $289 US dollars. Yeah, maybe even with the kind of extra shipping, it probably would have been worth it if I could have got it for $289. Yeah, I think that's a price to aim for on a Uncanny XMen 126 in a direct edition, $289 US dollars. Also saw an Uncanny XMen 133 in a direct edition. They're pretty much the first solo Wolverine story with the cool Wolverine cover. We had documented one on the Comic Link that had just sold. This one sold for $1,233. The one on Comic Link was like 1,100 and something, so this one's kind of a lick over 1,000 US dollars. Yeah, Uncanny XMen 133, kind of a bit of an under the radar Wolverine key to absolutely want. So yeah, I'd probably aim closer to 1,100 on that one in a direct edition. X-Men 141, Uncanny X-Men 141 in a direct edition. This one I do have in a 9.8, but I didn't bring it out. It sold in that direct for $1,126. This one was looking pretty good. I was liking the colors and the centering on this one, and yeah, I've saw this one sort of go kind of 950 to 1,300. I would say is kind of the range. So this is right in the middle of that range. I think a pretty bang on fair value for this one. Maybe get it closer to 1,000, maybe even under 1,000 if you really want to be patient on that one and try and get it for a good price. But yeah, Days of Future Past Part 1, just one of those huge X-Men keys of the era. Next one's a really cool one that I was kind of watching, and yeah, just I think a great Iron Man book of the era. Iron Man number 150, classic Iron Man versus Doctor Doom cover. I think a pretty tough black cover as well. I didn't actually look on the census this morning, but I have a feeling that black cover is going to be pretty tough to get into 9.8. So Iron Man 150 9.8 sold for $513 in a 9.8. Yeah, $513 for Iron Man 150. Yeah, given how cool the cover is, and even, you know, there's been kind of rumors off and on, maybe Doctor Doom's going to be the villain in the Fantastic Four movies that eventually will probably come out. I think that's a decent speculation. Doctor Doom's certainly the Fantastic Four villain. So yeah, this 150 is kind of a great Doctor Doom cover of this era. $513. I think it's probably worth that. Yeah, tough black cover. I bet there's not a lot in the 9.8. Right around 500 is a decent deal for an Iron Man 150 if you wanted that one. Next one's a cool G.I. Joe issue that's pretty under the radar, I think. G.I. Joe, A Real American Hero, number 26. This one is Origin of Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow. Definitely like a pretty solid under the radar G.I. Joe key, and kind of surprised to see how much it went for. $555 in an auction. So people paying up for this one. You get the big Origin in there, and yeah, kind of the cover is a bit underwhelming, to be honest, but definitely you know, people kind of paying up for that. I don't remember any of these sort of selling, so I think $555 is probably a decent fair value. Maybe you get it under $500 if you're lucky. But Origin of Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow on G.I. Joe, A Real American Hero 26. That seems like a pretty cool one. Next one, I do have Killing Joke, Batman the Killing Joke in a 9.8. There's a lot of these out there, but it's just, as a Batman fan, it's absolutely one-to-one, I think. Pretty affordable. In an auction, one selling, $265.66. Yeah, just a classic Batman story, classic cover, and one you can get, you know, for a pretty fair value. So it's one I definitely wanted in a 9.8. $265.66, I would say, is bang on fair. Maybe you get it under $250. I think I saw one that went for like $225, and I hadn't seen that low of a price. That was maybe a month ago. I think so. Yeah, the price range on this is kind of $225 to $300. $265.66, pretty much bang on fair, and that's a pretty good value if, you know, looking awesome in a new case. I think $265 is a pretty great target to aim for a Killing Joke in a 9.8. Next one, Watchmen, number 1 in a CGC 9.8, selling for $999. This Watchmen, it's been about that price for quite a long time. I think, you know, when that show sort of hit, this was quite a while ago, it sort of popped on that up to about the $1,000 level, and I feel like, right, you know, since then they've pretty much went right around $1,000, and I think it popped sort of even before the whole hot coronavirus market. So this is actually one that really hasn't like trended up and up and up, you know, with like a lot of books have with you know, the coronavirus and the hot comic book market. But yeah, Watchmen right around $1,000. Maybe you get it for $900 or so. I think that's kind of the fair value range on that one. So next one, Amazing Spider-Man 601. Yeah, we talked about Amazing Spider-Man 607, the kind of classic J. Scott Campbell Black Cat cover. But 601 is J. Scott Campbell's classic MJ cover. I like the Black Cat cover way better. This MJ one is cool, but I don't know. I just don't like it as much as some other people do, apparently. Because, yeah, one had sold for $374.69. Whereas that 607 is going for kind of $275, so this one's getting $100 more than 607, which kind of surprises me. But MJ is kind of, you know, she's definitely, you know, a big character in Spider-Man comics for sure. Probably bigger than a Black Cat. But $374.69, yeah, maybe aim a little bit closer to $300 on that one. But that was an auction, so I think $300 to $400 is kind of the range on a Amazing Spider-Man 601. Definitely like a modern one if you're a big MJ fan. You know, 601 is one you want to consider. Infinity Gauntlet, number 1 in a 9.8, selling for $341. This is pretty surprising. Yeah, this one's kind of trending up nice. Certainly, you know, a year or two ago, this is one where you could absolutely get it under $200 easy. You know, sort of in that 150 area even. And kind of surprising me. Over time, this is just kind of slowly but steadily ticked up. $341. I think you can maybe even aim for closer to $300, maybe even a little bit under $300 in kind of a stealthy auction on an Infinity Gauntlet number 1. But yeah, cool one that's kind of stood the test of time with Infinity Gauntlet being in all the like Avengers and Guardians of the Galaxy movies and stuff like that. I think any kind of Infinity Gauntlet book, mainly this one and Silver Surfer 44, first appearance of the Infinity Gauntlet, are pretty solid ones at the price to think about in a 9.8. Okay, last one here is a pretty hot one that I actually made like a you know, these like 5 hot ones that are still kind of worth buying. And I was really like almost considering putting this one on. It's a Moon Knight #1, the origin of Moon Knight, and kind of first solo Moon Knight comic book. I saw this one sell for one for $950, one for $980, and one in an auction for $861.56. So yeah, I do think this one could still be worth it on a bit of a lull. Certainly $861.56 I think is a pretty decent price, because if that Moon Knight show comes out and it really hits hard and people are really liking it, and I have a feeling like it could do really well. I feel like just some of the pictures and kind of the cinematography of it looks really cool so far. So, you know, you get one on kind of a stealthy auction here, $861.50, maybe even closer to $800 in the next kind of 6 months, and then, you know, maybe the show starts to ramp up with some promo, and I think could still be a little more upside for this one. You know, after the show, though, it's going to be hard to see how these sort of secondary Moon Knight key issues sort of hang in there, but you know, you get it now for kind of a lower end of fair value, and you'll have options when the Moon Knight show comes out. Maybe you want to flip it and, you know, make $300 or $400 or whatever it might be. But yeah, I do have a feeling that one will do really well when the Moon Knight show comes out. So, you know, maybe one to consider at the lower end of fair value. $861.56 one went for, so hopefully kind of around $850 I think would be a really good price on a Moon Knight one in a 9.8 right now. Okay, full list of prices there. Always great just to, you know, get a bunch of 9.8 prices and kind of wrap my head around the market, and always feel a lot better about, you know, some of the books. And yeah, I think everything's kind of hanging in there. Like, you know, the big ones like a Star Wars #1 are still kind of fetching that top dollar, and, you know, they did pull back, but they seem to be kind of bouncing back up, and from that, you know, initial pullback from the sort of coronavirus hot comic book market. But yeah, 9.8's hanging in there for sure, and always like the best thing you can do is just know the prices, the fair value prices for all the 9.8s you might want, and that's what this video is all about, just getting those prices out there so everyone knows the fair value of whatever key issue you might want, and you know, definitely less of a chance you'll overpay, and that's kind of the goal, to get these 9.8s at a really good fair value. All right, team, thanks so much for watching. I'll see you on the next one. If you're liking my content, please subscribe and hit that bell, and I'll keep you updated on future videos.